Good morning and welcome to the Monday Morning Marketing Podcast. I'm Esther.
And I'm Melanie.
And today we're joined by John C. Morley, serial entrepreneur, engineer, marketing specialist, and talk show host. Welcome, John.
Thank you. It is a pleasure to be with you ladies this morning.
So, John, tell us a bit more about yourself. Like it says in your intro, you are a marketing specialist, but also an engineer. That's not normal. If you don't mind me saying
yeah,
so.
That's so I kind of break the norm in a good way. And I think sometimes when you break the norm, a lot of people would say to you have to think outside the box. Well, I crush the box. I kick the box to the curb. No boxes with me.
No boxes.
So how did I go from and I still am an engineer, by the way. We actually, my IT company actually provides services to Wall Street and things like that. But how did I get from here to marketing? I guess is the question you ladies want to know.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, it's very simple. About 7 years ago, I had one of the largest marketing and advertising companies, and for security reasons, I won't mention their name, but they're one of the top in New York. They're on the Wall Street, and I kept writing them checks every single week. And I never saw anything. And you're dealing with a bad firm when the way they treat you is based on what you pay them. Mm-hmm. I think that's a problem. So I'm going to use three amounts of money for right now. $1, okay? Let's call $5 and $10. Those are not the amounts. When I wrote them a check for $1 for services or a deposit or what have you, they say, John, let's go ahead and do a quick breakfast at Dunkin' Donuts, or we'll just bring donuts to your office or bagels. How about that? Yeah. I wrote them a check for $5. Well, let's go to Hula Hands, which they're not in business anymore, or let's go to Fridays, or let's go to one of these quick places and have a lunch, right? Fine. Very nice. But if I sent them $10, let's go to Ruth Chris or Steakhouse or something like that, and we'll do that for a nice dinner. Sounds good. So I decided that one time I was going to test this. And instead of sending them the $5 for lunch, because I had noticed that lunch had been different based on what was being paid. And so instead of sending them $5 one time, I said, let me just send them $1 just to test this. Calls you back and says, hi, John, this is such and such from Brian's office. Just wanted to reach out to you. Brian wanted me to call you. Because we needed to change this from, let's say, if I paid the $5 to the $1, we need to make this a quick breakfast because he actually has to pick up his car in the afternoon. Or if, let's say, we were doing lunch, oh, John, his wife just called him and he has to pick up his mother-in-law at the airport. She's making a surprise visit and he doesn't know how long that's going to take. So he asked if we could do a late dinner, like 8 or 9 o'clock at Ruth Chris. So there was some, I guess, coincidence, you would say, to the amount of money I was paying and the way I was being taken out for lunch or meetings. But what really kind of kicked the deal out of their ballpark is when we had a problem producing, you've probably seen these journals before, and, they're like I'd say like the 8.5 by 11, and they basically are like a fold, like you don't see them too much anymore. And that was very popular back then. So we wanted to produce one for my company, JMore, which is jmore.com, which is one of my IT companies. And that particular thing that we worked on, they did all the spell checking. They checked everything. It was supposed to be perfect. Well, they told me when I went out there to see their office, because I went for an office tour, that the deadline is tomorrow. I said, well, that's fantastic. We can make changes. I see you missed a few things here. Oh, John, we can. Well, why not? Well, your deadline, sir, was yesterday. Our deadline is today. So, well, don't you print it? No, we don't print it. We're the middleman. I was like, oh, boy. I said, so what is it going to take since this is your error? Well, you did sign off on it. Yeah, I did, but I was trusting you were going to go through everything a second time. Yeah, so we can make today the deadline for you and change it. It'll be $500 more. I said, well, that's not right. Yeah, well, it costs us more money. Meanwhile, I found out because I called their printer. I said, "Do you charge anything?" "Oh, no, no. When it's a big client like that, we sometimes will charge like $30 for a regular client, but we don't charge them anything." I said, "Oh." So I was a little
Yeah.
annoyed, to say the least. And now I
Yeah.
realize, ladies, that somebody doesn't have my back.
Yeah.
And so I decided that I need to do what's best for me and my company. And nobody was helping me get my company to the next level. And I didn't know what to do. And I've been to SCORE and all these companies and these not-for-profits, but nobody really wanted it. They really could help me. They had ideas, but they were like pie in the sky. They didn't really know how to put them on paper. I mean, they all have great intentions, nothing wrong with them,
Hmm.
but they don't actually do the work for you. They give you some pointers, but you still got to do a lot of it on your own.
Yeah.
And I realized that my copier was coming up for lease in the office for renewal. So I went down to the Xerox office and negotiated a deal for a new copier, which I got. And then I saw this great big Xerox print production machine. Wow. So I looked at it. We had done the deal for the other machine. They said, "John, well, let's go to lunch." Looked at the machine, went to lunch, came back. I fell in love with this machine. This machine was to the tune, I'm going to say, about 150,000 US. I'm not sure what that is in currency in Europe, but it was quite a bit of money. And
A lot of money. Yeah. A lot of money in any
and I
currency.
and I went to my I kind of fell in love with it, but I didn't have the money for it yet. So I went to my bank the next day and I said, "Hey, bank, I think I'm going to be starting another company," because that's what I thought my plan was going to be. Because obviously I wasn't buying it for my IT company, but I said, "I think I'm going to be starting another company. I need some money for a new production machine." "Okay, how much do you need?" 150 grand. "When do you need the money?" "Oh, we could have it tomorrow." "Next week is fine." I go back to them. Now I have the money. Now I have my leverage. "When can you have the money?" "Oh, 2 weeks." "Oh, yeah, that's plenty of time." I didn't want to tell them I had it too soon. Long story short, I got the machine, but then I realized I didn't know what a Fiery was. Not what it is, because it's the device that actually does imaging, advanced imaging for printing. So I went through about 60 hours of Fiery training. I also realized, even though I had some graphic experience, I wasn't a graphic artist. So I had to hire one of those, but part-time. And then what I realized was that I didn't have a place for this printer. So my IT company basically rented space for this printer to my new company that didn't even exist yet, Neighborhood Publications, ourprintconnection.com, OUR, printconnection.com. And I decided that for $2 a month, Jay Moore was going to rent space to Neighborhood Publications. Had to start the company and all this other stuff for the legal stuff, which all had to happen before the printer was being delivered, by the way. So I had a lot to get going, and I did all this myself. So this is why I told them I needed more time. So I said, "Give me a month because I need to think about it." Well, I thought about it. I came back with them. Once I had the companies all set up, then I came back and did the paperwork. Because now I had a reason, even though Jay Moore was still basically doing the deal, the lease, because the other company had no credit, had nothing. I got my first client. But first, I started printing all my own stuff for Jay Moore, for postcards, for flyers, for banners. And it was great because I could come up with an idea in the middle of the night. It could be designed and it could be printed, and then the mailbox is the same or the next day. And that's powerful. And I realized that I'm onto something. Not only can I build a creative ad agency, but I actually can print the darn stuff in-house and be a full-fledged print production center. Now, that didn't happen yet. That actually didn't happen until about a year or two ago, when I realized that this machine's expensive to run and you can't exist on just a few clients. So I made the plunge to build a full modern print production center about a year or two ago. We were supposed to open last year. We never opened. We're open as we're operating, but we never opened our doors, and we're strictly on appointments because of COVID. And so it was just really breathtaking, the fact that we could print things. But what was very unique about us is that I always wanted to help people tell stories. And I said, "John, you're a good storyteller, and you're actually pretty good at marketing." But what always stopped me in the past, and I leave this as a lesson for the ladies and the gentlemen listening today, is that when someone tells you you can't do something, okay, Henry Ford said, if you believe that, you're right. If someone tells you that you can do something, you're also right. So I was starting to let other people's programming affect me and what I could be. And that's when I realized that, hey, everyone told me that you don't know marketing. And that's true. I didn't have a formal degree in it, but I could learn it.
Yeah.
And I did learn it. And people were starting to knock me. And this is where I say something else pretty interesting. If everybody likes you in business, and I don't say people should hate you, but if everyone is just revering you to the nines, you're not bringing your A game, ladies. You got to bring your A game. And so I realized if you get a few haters or you get a few people that are just not so palsy with you, they're afraid of you.
Yeah.
My own local shipping company in town was afraid of me because we're a production center. They're a little copy place.
Yeah.
And I wasn't trying to compete with anybody because, I mean, we're not here to do resumes. We're here to print books, flyers, banners. We have our own system now that does books for plays, square bounds, all that kind of stuff. But the thing was, it's not just about the printing, ladies. It's about the whole concept. So I realized that to be a leader in this, I had to get really good on my game with my stories about myself.
Yeah. It's all about the stories.
And I like the fact you brought it in-house as well, John. The fact that, you know, handing over the power to somebody else just wasn't working for you. And at the end of the day, you got more honesty and more graft and more hard work done by bringing it in-house and bringing the experts to work for you rather than you being a client of theirs. I think that's the lesson here.
Yeah, because nobody knows you better than you know yourself.
Exactly.
Nobody can tell your story better than you.
If you wanted to market your podcast, the greatest person is yourself because you know your show and what your market is. So I always believe that the best relationship starts with the client. And it starts with basically under promising and over delivering. Okay. Yeah. I don't try to get people into long contracts. I just try to find out what their problem is and solve it. And a lot of times, one of the biggest things right now, and this just boomed because of COVID, and it's not even in the printing, it's just in the marketing. I'm very well known on LinkedIn for my banner creation service. And it's not just graphic. And you can see it basically by going to linkedin.com/in/JOHN, the letter C, MORLEYIV. And if you look at that, you'll see my banner profile. Now, that wasn't just a stock profile. That wasn't something that I bought online. That wasn't the default profile. Because most people, right, they leave the default LinkedIn banner profile. And they think it's so great. Or they go buy something on one of these stock photo sites for $20 and they think it's fantastic. But you know something, ladies, it's not what's about them. It's something that impresses. So if you have to try to be something else that you're not, don't do that. Because if the story about you is not true, it may not come out today, but it will eventually come out. And then that's going to bring your reputation down. So then I realized that what other printers don't do is they don't print on anything. So I decided we're going to print on anything. Now, there's limitations, obviously. We print on paper, plastic, metal, glass, wood, with different types of printing technology. We can print on things that'll go on a plastic bottle. We can print on mugs using a different technology. But the point is, it's about telling your story. So if we tell your story on LinkedIn and then it's about a promotional item, it's not about a tchotchke. It's about something that's a high quality item that somebody is going to be able to keep saying, oh, gee, I got a mug from John. Oh, his story is amazing. I want to do that. So that's what I do. I give people a dream when they don't have one. And if they have a dream, I amplify it. So what I do in the LinkedIn banner profile service is this is something we just started with COVID. And it all started with me because I realized that even though I was good at stories, I wasn't stepping up my game. I wasn't telling people what I did, even though I knew what I did. I wasn't even doing it for myself.
Yeah.
I said, I got to start with myself first. And when I could start with myself, then I can branch out to others. So right around the COVID time, I said, gee, you know what we're going to do? I told my graphics team, let's create me a LinkedIn banner profile. Well, how do we do that? Well, I'm not sure yet, but it's going to be about a story. I'm going to tell you what the story is. So it's very similar to how I do with clients. I set up about a 90-minute call with them. We go through and ask them some questions. They get 2 LinkedIn banner comps. They come back to us for usually 2 or 3 rounds of changes. and they tell us what they like, what they didn't like. But I get into what made them the person they are. Now, I don't ask them what they did in grade school. I usually get things from high school up into college, and I find out where their commonalities are. And then I look at trends in the market and I say, that's something I can build a story around. And then we build a LinkedIn banner profile. Then we teach people how to network for free. We teach that. After we teach that, we explain to people that it's not about being at a free networking event every single day, because I also run paid events. So it's about, you have to balance yourself and realize what's working for you. I would say to you that there's a balance. And if you're going to these events, you have to realize that when you go to a free event, there's no free lunches, right? So you may not be getting the quality of the people. So see what it's like in your market. There's lots of different groups out there. But I find that the groups that actually generate business are the ones where people pay a small mission, nothing big. And so by telling people stories, the next thing we do is we help them get into a calendar automation. Because let's face it, calendar automation.
Automation.
When you book people for shows, or clients need to book people for appointments, they waste a lot of their day trying to figure out their calendar. And ladies, that's an excuse.
Yeah.
Well, let me check my calendar. Okay, let me give you my calendar link and you can find a time on my calendar.
Yeah.
Oh, so it gets rid of that excuse. I'm all about getting rid of excuses. And I always say that if you're not part of the solution, you're part of the problem. And so what I do is I help people get so passionate about their stories. And then they get to share that story with other people. I'm like, now you have a reason to go to a networking event. You see, you had a profile. Now you have a story.
And that's what some people are afraid of. They're like, I have nothing to say. But everybody has something to say, and everything, whatever they say can be turned into a story and can be turned into a way to market themselves to their audience, because your audience could be going through exactly the same as what you did, or what you have overcome, or what problem you have right now. And that's a great way to relate to people, is by the stories that you tell, and the authentic stories that you tell, because you have to be authentic. And like you were saying, if you don't tell a story that's true to you, it will come back and bite you.
Exactly. And I tell people, one of the biggest problems, and I'm not going to mention the company's name, but back, and I've learned things have kind of clicked, even with big companies, and I've learned things that are happening. And I will tell you that one of the biggest companies, they have a letter in the alphabet, starts with a C. I'm not going to mention them. They became a very big marketing company, but our tech company threw them out because they stopped taking care of clients and they don't have good technology anymore. So you have to be true to your brand, and you have to focus on what you're about. Once you lose that, then it's only a matter of time before your company falls out.
It's all about customer experience, isn't it?
Yes. Disney, and I actually took their course when I was very young. Disney actually spends millions of dollars on this. And I was very fortunate to go to Disney University when I was young.
Disney University?
Yes, Disney University teaches you business
logic.
Oh my God. Yes, there are different programs you can go to, young and in your teens and stuff. So it was very interesting. And one was about customer experience. And it leads me to the story about, the reason you do everything in life, it's to avoid pain and gain, or to gain pleasure. But in Disney, the reason people spend money, it's for the experience. And to leave you with something, read the book about fish. And there's a guy who goes to one fish store, and I'll just cut to the chase real quick. Goes to one fish store and he pays $1. He goes to this fish store, the very high-end one. I'm just going to cut the chase of all the other ones. Yeah. They're kind of like in between. This one over here is like 3 times the amount as the first one. Wow. And why do you buy it at the last one? Well, because the last one, they hand you a bag. Hi, Esther. Hi, Melanie. Glad to see you. What would you like for your catch day? And you get to catch your dinner. They throw it. So it's about an experience. People are willing to pay for experience. That's why you pay more money when you go to nicer restaurants. It's not just because of the food. It's the experience. Entertainment. People want to be entertained.
Very true. Well,
very
John,
true.
I mean, you've left us with so much information and knowledge. I mean, I'm can see Melanie here. Her mind's blown, and she's really wishing she could go to Disney University now. Send your daughter.
You can actually go online now during COVID. You can actually take the test online. and pick which program you want. And their customer service has a program, and there's some programs on business, and it's very interesting. And then they teach you how it is that they make money. But the one thing I'll leave you with about Disney, you pay a fee for tickets. If you want to go into their, let's say, one of their parks, and you want to go behind the scenes, you pay for somebody to be with you, and you learn the Disney magic.
Oh,
You notice
wow.
that when you're out there, everything is like perfect. I
Mm.
got news for you. That's all on stage. When you come behind the doors, behind SeaWorld, or behind the attraction, you're off stage.
Yeah.
Those costumes aren't on. So it's all about an appearance. When you're on stage, Disney's on stage, hotels are on stage. And I think that's what people don't realize. You have to know that when you're off stage, obviously there's going to be a difference and you have some downtime, but you have to realize your image on stage has to be perfect
Yeah.
all the time, or you need to get off stage.
Well,
Yeah.
John, thank you so much for joining us today. It
You're
has
welcome.
been so informative and so insightful, and we hope to.
Where can we find out more about you, John?
Oh,
before we
sure.
finish
So
up?
you can actually go to the link here. You can go to linkedin.com/in/my name, JOHN, then the letter C, then MORLEY, and then the letters I and the letters V, because I'm fourth generation. You also can reach out to me directly via phone at 973-291 6271, and my extension is 108. But if you connect with me on LinkedIn, or you visit my marketing company at OurPrintConnection.com, I'll be happy to send you a calendar invite and have a 15-minute consultation with you and give you some tips and pointers that may just put you in the right direction.
That's really appreciated. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, John. And we'll be back next week with more Monday Morning Marketing. Thanks, guys. Bye-bye.
Thank you.